Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how you can analyze any text using ChatGPT, but in a visual way, so that you can have an idea of what are the main topics inside, how they relate to one another, and also more importantly, what are the gaps between them, so that you can address these gaps and develop the ideas in this text further. So if you're interested, keep watching and I will show you how it works. So normally when we have a document, let's say it's a PDF research paper on mindfulness in our case, you can upload it to ChatGPT, for example, but it's going to tell you that it's too long because there is a lot of information there. So you either have to split it in parts or use some other tools. Another tool is, for instance, ChatPDF, where you can upload this paper and then you can chat with it. So you can ask a summary of this paper or use some example questions, but it doesn't really tell you what the paper is about, so it's quite hard to understand what to start your questioning from. This is why we developed InfraNodus. In InfraNodus, the approach is different. You actually upload this paper first. You can also upload any other text, your own notes, ideas, copy and paste something you wrote, Google search results, basically anything you want, but in this case we will use this research paper. So you upload this research paper, and then the first thing you see is that it's visualized as a graph, where the ideas inside this paper are represented as the nodes, and if those ideas appear together in the context of this text, they will be connected and they will have the same color. And then those ideas that are more influential are bigger on the graph, so you can get a really quick visual representation of what this paper is about. You can see that, for example, the main concepts inside are craving and brain and mindfulness, and for example, brain study are used together because they have the same color. So you get this visual representation of what the text is about, and then you can send those clusters that are identified using text network analysis to GPT-3 or GPT-4, which is basically powering ChatGPT, to generate the topic names for those clusters, so that you can see the main topics inside the text really quickly first, before you start questioning it. And this is very important because then you know how you want to actually interact with this document. You have to first understand what it's about, what are the main topical clusters inside. So here I see that, for example, it's about drug reactivity, craving, then mindfulness training, meditation imaging, brain structure, and so on. So this gives me a nice visual representation of what this paper is about. Then I can zoom into one of the topics, for example here, prefrontal cortex, and start questioning specifically this part of the document in order to develop it further and to grow the ideas beyond the periphery of this knowledge graph. Another very important feature is that InfraNodus shows you the structural gaps inside the text. So which two topics or pairs of topics could be better connected. And usually this is where the new ideas can be found, because those concepts, they are present inside the text, but they're not so much connected yet. So if you pose questions or generate ideas that connect those clusters together, then you will most likely come up with something new in relation to this text and develop this discourse further. And finally, because you have this representation, you can actually use the built-in ChatGPT module here and chat with this document. So you just need to take the current context into account, and then you can even ask what this document is about, for instance, in a very general way, and then you click GPT-4 chat, and it's going to query this document and answer this question using the content of the document. So here it's talking about the compilation of studies related to mindfulness-based relapse prevention, and reviews the role of craving, negative affect, and substance use in addiction relapses, and how meditation can be helpful for that. Then what's really useful here is that if I don't query the whole document, I can focus on the gap. So for example, here I can say, okay, highlight the gap between, for example, let's choose something interesting here. I can reiterate through them: prefrontal cortex and substance abuse. And then I can ask ChatGPT to generate some insight in relation to this question. So for example, I can say, okay, generate a research question. Then it's going to come up with the question that would link these two topics together: prefrontal cortex and substance abuse, as it's shown here. And here it says, what is the impact of ventral, prefrontal, anterior insular activity on individuals' risk of relapse and substance abuse treatment for addiction and alcohol? So that means that I can try to think of this question, and thinking of that question, I will be able to develop the discourse further, because I'm bridging the gap between two different ideas which are not yet connected inside this text. This is very different to what you get in the other tools that just ask you general questions about the documents and where you don't know what those gaps are. Here you actually analyze the document, find out the main topics, and then you start to think how you can connect them together in new ways in order to understand the content of the document better, but also to develop the ideas further inside. So this is how it would work with the questioning. Then you can also, of course, make a free-form generation of this idea. So for example, here I have this question, and then if I click elaborate, it's going to ask this same question to the document. So we used the AI to generate a question, and then we use it to answer this question that it generated itself. And this is a much more precise approach, sort of human-in-the-loop approach, where we guide the AI through the knowledge graph in order to identify the gaps. Then we generate questions that would bridge those gaps. We can answer them ourselves if we want, or we can send them to the AI to make it answer them for us. And then it will generate some interesting ideas, which we can then save into our research notes here and accumulate some ways of thinking about this text or this document that can help us take the ideas further. Of course, we could also, reset these gaps and choose to zoom into specific topic, like here, for instance, prefrontal cortex. And then I just have a few documents selected here, right? So then I will say, okay, just summarize only the statements. So here you see the statements that belong to this category of prefrontal cortex, only 9 of them. Then I can ask the system to summarize only the visible statements, so only this topic on prefrontal cortex. And what the system will do is that it will generate a summary only of the statements on this topic, so it allows me to get a much more precise overview of specific ideas that are contained inside this text. And then I can choose some other topic, for instance, substance abuse, or even a few of them at the same time, maybe 3, and then generate a summary of those 3 topics. And if I want, I can also query them as well. So I can choose to select some topics, like let's say I will just reset everything now and also remove the names of the topics. And then I decide to go into, let's say, brain functional. And as you see, when I click the terms, I see what they're connected to. So it helps me understand also what are the specific semantic connections inside the document. Let's say increase, area, brain, functional. Okay, let's develop this idea further. So I selected those ideas. Here I can see the statements that contain those terms. I selected inside the document, so I can summarize them using the function here and understand what they're talking about. Or I can also use the built-in ChatGPT module to then say like, okay, I have this concept selected. Now take the current context into account and generate some ideas in relation to them. And then you will see that it's going to take the context of the document and generate some ideas that develop the connections between those concepts that I selected further. So this is a really great tool if you want to not just question the document and understand what it's about, but if you want to develop the ideas inside further and sort of live beyond the periphery of this knowledge graph that you are exploring. And here it's talking about the meditation practice that actually leads to functional adjustment in brain regions like the insular and prefrontal cortex, and how it impacts an individual cognitive control over cravings and emotions by increasing those functional brain areas and affecting them somehow, increasing the activity in them and affecting them. So there we get the answer to the question that is very specific, but we knew what question to ask because we saw what are the concepts and how they're connected inside. So this would be another approach that you could use to query this document. And finally, what you can also do is when you finished studying all the main ideas inside, you can remove them from the graph, so hide them temporarily like this, and then you see what's hiding behind them. So then it kind of highlights some other topics, latent topics that are contained inside, and then you reiterate the same process. So for example, here we see that the mindfulness training topic comes up, and we can focus on that a little bit more, and then use the built-in AI to then talk directly to this part of the document. So we can select, for example, MBRP, study, meditation, and then either make a manual query here, or even just based on the selection, use ChatGPT, and then it will generate some ideas in relation to those terms, taking the context of the document into account. So unlike other tools, you're not just chatting with the document, you're actually using the document to extract some interesting ideas and see how you can reconnect them in a new and interesting way. So it's a tool for the people who actually want to take the ideas further, not just to understand what the documents or any texts are talking about, but who want to develop them further. And you're using the knowledge graph and the connections in combination with AI to generate ideas, and then when you see something you like, you save them to your notes, or you ask the AI to elaborate on them by clicking this button here, and then clicking the GPT-4 chat button here. If you want the system to live beyond the boundaries of this particular document, you just uncheck this box here and then use the ChatGPT button, and then it's going to generate some content which will take you beyond the context of this document. So this is another approach how you could improve the thinking process by leaving the context of a particular discourse and trying to develop it outside of the boundaries of this document. So this is how it works. I invite you to try it out on InfraNodus.com. Also subscribe to our channel so you can get informed when the new videos come out. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or using the support portal. I will link to it in the description to the video. Thank you.